Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and this is a Star Rail video. I wanted to check in now that 2.0 is a little more than halfway done. The last time I made a video about it was before 2.0 dropped. In general, most of what I said in the last video, I still have the opinion, except for the storyline bit. They have definitely improved in that regard. I am certainly looking forward to 2.1. That's one of those situations where I'll probably play it the day it comes out. And then aside from that, I wanted to talk about the units that are featured this patch, and then touch on the units from next patch too, although only in broad strokes. I'm not that worried about talking about leaks. Like, I'm not going to show any pictures or anything. And in general, it's important to remember that until that information is finalized, you should consider it subject to change. But for Acheron, she is a debuff-based Nihility unit who is also a damage dealer. And Acheron is a shielder who also does follow-up attacks. And so I definitely think there's some good opportunity for account planning, because we just had an excellent dot niche unit that pairs very, very well with Kafka, who's one of my favorite units, so that's why I got her. And then currently available is Sparkle, who is very similar to Bronya in a lot of ways. She does the turn advancement, she does the crit sharing, but with the added bonus of giving you a ton of extra skill points. So Imbiber de Lune people are going to look at her as being a very must-have unit, just because the utility she provides for him is through the roof. Although anybody who wants skill points and wants to crit will also benefit from her quite a bit. It's the dot people where you're not going to see as much value from Sparkle. Now, I did end up getting her, but that was just a freak accident. I decided to do a 10 pull. So I really wanted to get Misha, so I got Black Swan before I got Misha, and then I was willing to do a little bit more. I did eventually get him, but that ended up putting me like somewhere around 50 into pity. So I just did another 10 pull. I didn't think anything would come of it, but I ended up getting Sparkle, and then I also got a duplicate of Himiko, meaning my next limited is also guaranteed. So because of that, I'm going to completely skip Acheron, and I'm going to go for Aventurine, just because I don't have much in the shielding department. I pretty much have March, and I have the Fire MC. My March is not... She was only raised enough to clear the content like up to a certain point, and then once I started to get more limited characters, especially after I got Fuxuan, I haven't really used her much. Fire MC I do still use fairly frequently. Like, I tend to run the main character whenever I'm doing story missions, sort of like an immersion thing. And because I got Japard's Light Cone in a random standard banner summon, I have that on him. So his shielding's like not amazing, but it is alright. But Aventurine, I have high hopes for him. And then also being a follow-up attacker, I'm hoping for some synergies. Maybe with Dr. Ratio, because they share the same element. Or Topaz, because she also buffs follow-up attacks. I definitely like the IPC characters more than I ever would have thought based on reading descriptions of the IPC. So that's another incentive to get Aventurine. But I do think that this patch is very interesting, because if you're in the position where you haven't used your selector yet for the standard banner, Bronya isn't necessarily the only choice anymore. There was definitely a time where pretty much anybody would have told you, if you don't have Bronya, get Bronya with the selector. And that definitely still could hold true, because having two characters that do the same thing in a game that has gameplay modes where you use two teams, there's still a very valid argument for that. But if for whatever reason something about Bronya doesn't work for you, maybe her element, like if you want to run a hyper carry team and you use Silverwolf, and having somebody who doesn't match either the element of Silverwolf or the damage dealer, so basically not Blade, then you might be in a position where that's not so appealing. And then Sparkle fixes that problem by being the same element as Silverwolf. So no matter who you're using, and if you're doing the hyper carry thing and fixing a weakness, then you're pretty much set. And then it also frees you up to get somebody like Himiko if you want to do like crowd clearing pure fiction stuff, or maybe you want to do something a little more specialized, like use Welt to make sure enemies get pushed back as far as they can, and which stacks really well with Ranmei's advancement with her ult. So you definitely have more choices that way. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the character bloat in the game, just because it's something I've been thinking about, just because one, Genshin has released a potential solution to their problem, which they've been dealing with for a very, very long time. I don't think it's a great solution, but it is something, and if nothing else, it is a potential preview for what Star Rail might be getting in the future, because Star Rail releases characters faster than Genshin does, mostly because it's less work. They just have to do the animations, and then everything else is kind of static, whereas Genshin has to worry about a whole dimensionality that Star Rail doesn't. And because of that, it's been reliably like 2 characters per patch, and eventually, because they only rerun one set per half of the patch, then they are going to need to step that up eventually. Otherwise, there will be instances where characters go a really long time without getting a rerun. And I could definitely see them doing something along the lines. Maybe they do like a Lafu type Chronicle banner, or a Space Station one, a Bellabog one. They might have to combine some of those because some of them don't quite have enough characters, but in general, I think it'll probably be the same level of not that great for most people. Like, most people would be better off using their resources to get new characters, new limited characters. But there might be the occasional person who really wanted 2 standard characters and the game wouldn't give them to them, or maybe there's a light cone that they want to get. It's less enticing, though, in Star Rail's case, because Star Rail already has the 50-50 system for light cones, whereas Genshin had a pretty bad system for its weapons. And the Chronicled banner alleviates that. So the only way I could see it being really, really worthwhile is if it was discounted, because in all honesty, it's a banner designed for lower value things. Like, to the devs, it's lower value. Well, not the devs, the producers of the game, really. To them, it's lower value. It's not going to sell as high, and they shouldn't charge the same amount for lower value goods. That's just not a good thing to do. It's not wise, and for people that do pay attention to value, they're not going to go for that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Let's just go ahead and smack this Yangqing with Dr. Ratio's pillar, and then end this boss fight, and hopefully I get some good pieces out of it. So, whether you are pulling for Sparkle, or saving for Acheron or Aventurine, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.